Welcome to the Mediocre to Magnificent podcast. I'm your co-host, Braxton Matson, and your host, Lee A. Williams, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in because you are what makes this pure magnificence. You are the ripple effect of magnificence, and we are going to bring you a message that will give you insight, inspire you, motivate you, and challenge you to not only grow in your magnificence, but let you know that you are magnificent in everything you do. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Lee, man,
Yes, sir.
we're here.
We are
Magnificently here.
magnificently here. You're feeling good today, huh, buddy?
I kind of am, man. Well, I kind of like to see your perspective on this because it was kind of interesting how it came about for me.
Okay.
So, like, just to give you a background for this episode, I had gone on a cruise. This was my first cruise ever.
That's good.
Loved it. Like, we're doing one again. I know.
Yeah.
Probably on a bigger one, but definitely.
Yeah.
And before we actually got on the cruise, like me and Ken, I think we were watching a documentary. And I'll name the documentary. You guys can watch it. You know, it's definitely an info sponge thing. But it's called Social Dilemma. And it's dealing with like social media and just how entrenched it is in our society. Like it's like really something you got to take a look at.
Yeah.
So I think that might have triggered this because we got on the cruise, and everybody knows if you've been on a cruise, you don't have internet access. Well, you could if you pay for it.
Yeah.
Right?
You get attached to a satellite.
Right. I mean, you could. I mean, we had the whole plan where we could communicate with the kids on the ship. Like if we wanted to text them or know where they're at kind of thing. But for a majority of the trip, that wasn't working. Like they had to refund us because like the whole trip, that whole setup that they had was not working quite right.
Yeah.
So, like we get on this ship and we wanted to explain to the kids like, hey, there's a reason you got to put it on airplane mode. And there's a reason why you can't use it on
You got to put it on cruise mode.
Yeah. Like there's a reason, because if you start using data plans on your cell phone provider, like you're going to get a bill and you're going to be surprised. Or we are going to be surprised.
Right.
And so we told them that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were asking questions about like, when can we?
When can
like
when we get home?
And it was kind of like, it was like questions for me. I'm like, I've already said this. Like, you're not going to be able to get on X, Y, Z at all.
Right.
Technically.
Yeah.
Unless we buy the plan. But then when we started saying that, then it's like, well, how much is the plan? And, it's like a domino effect thing.
Yeah.
And I got to think, I'm like, man, like, what is this? Like, really?
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like, I wanted to just sit back and, like, really, like, take note of this. Because it was like, instead of enjoying the cruise, it's more about, like, when can I do,
Yeah.
or how can I do this? Or can I do this? And it was kind of like the same questions over again. But it was, I mean, it worked out. They got it. Yeah. But it wasn't like the whole trip they were doing that.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting. So looking at it, it deals with what some people would term it as the dopamine loop.
The dopamine.
Yeah, it's like a
Loop.
dopamine loop. So a way to describe it is
And you looked this up.
I looked this up.
Like you really figured
Like
this
there's
out.
different terminologies for it, but like the dopamine loop seems to be like you can visually see it's like a merry-go-round, the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it deals with like the social media side too. Like they're starting to see that. But when you think of dopamine, what do you think? Like, what would be your definition of dopamine?
I wanted you to say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay,
like,
so it's like a neuro. So I think it was in 1958 they really figured out okay, this is dopamine, and so it's like a neurotransmitter chemically in your body that releases, and it gives you this feel good feeling.
Yeah.
Like you feel, oh man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So they originally, people thought when you did something, it would release the dopamine, which is true. But it even starts before that. So it's like the anticipation of a reward in a way. That triggers dopamine. The actual thing that you get from it gives you dopamine. But really, on the heavy side, it's the anticipation of the reward is where it really triggers the dopamine. So think about that.
Yeah.
Like we've all done, like I'm thinking like when I was a kid, what would release, like what was a dopamine thing for me? Video games were huge for me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I remember first time I got an N64 and I think it was like GoldenEye or something, like James Bond video game. And it was a big hit.
Yeah.
But it was like this dopamine release because like if you play a game and you don't have an outcome for it, like you're really going to be rewarded by it.
Yeah.
So like there's certain triggers of a reward system that has to come into play.
Yeah.
But it's the anticipation of the reward system. So it's like, oh, I get to go to this level. Or I get to go to this level.
Yeah.
Or I get to have this when I get to this. Or I can do this to get this. Or,
Yeah.
it's anticipation.
Yeah, it's a trick.
And some of it's good. Yeah. But when you get too much of it, you get into the loop.
Yeah.
And it's like a never-ending story, and you're never satisfied. You
Yeah,
know where
I'm
it's going on?
getting you. So with the kids on the cruise, did y'all ever think about just taking the phones?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
There were times.
From the beginning, like, hey,
Not from the beginning.
We're taking the phones on this.
Not from the beginning, because we wanted them to enjoy the cruise. Like if they wanted to go do something on the ship,
Yeah.
as long as we could make contact with them and say, hey, okay, we need to be back here by XYZ.
Yeah.
We wanted them to have that kind of freedom because they were at that age where they could have that kind of freedom. Because, they got tons of stuff for like teenagers and things that they can do on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like giving them the freedom, but then there's a limitation to the freedom,
Yeah.
in a way. And sometimes it's like, okay, we got to like cut it off for a second.
Yeah.
Like let it calm down. And then.
So, like, tying it to that is in this loop, you got to see your kids, or for your own,
me.
You got to experience
Yes.
oh man, I'm missing something.
Yes.
That's
what it was. Because, okay, so here, like, the kids were the bigger perspective of it. Yeah. But then when I saw that,
they were the bigger addict.
They were. You probably could put it that way. Yeah. They were the bigger one.
Connotation?
I wouldn't say negative, but it was more like I guess you could put it as not realizing it.
Yeah.
For me, because I'll be honest with you, if you tell me that you could withstand the dopamine loop, you're lying.
You say you can withstand?
Like if you think you can, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to get involved with that. I can't not get in the dopamine loop.
I'm not in that.
you're lying.
So you're saying that people are in it in some form.
In some form, because it's subconscious. Like, you don't even know it's happening. Like, they've done research on this. Marketing wise, they've invested
Look at how you said
a
that.
whole bunch on trying to understand what keeps people interested.
Yeah.
And it's dopamine. Like, if
What
you can
keeps
get the
people
dopamine.
interested?
Yeah.
What if we change the word?
What's the word? What?
Dumb down.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could do
I don't
that.
know.
You could say that, yeah.
Or like, I mean, plugged in.
Plugged in. I like that one. I like the plugged in one. I like that one.
I'm not gonna say what you're plugged in to, but what if
But they've invested. I mean, it's marketing. They're going to invest.
So what did you find that like you were like missing out on your fix? Like, I'm just playing with you because I wanna.
Mine. It probably wasn't like crazy, but I do like a devotional with the Bible app, right?
Yeah.
So I was on this like 30 something, maybe 40 almost streak.
Oh, street.
Yeah. Keyword streak. Remember that.
Oh, so look at that.
Ah,
No, so look at that.
yeah,
Though. But
see?
so you're thinking like, so that's how deep this goes.
yeah.
So you're telling me, I mean, you're not telling me, but what I heard was if you were talking to God and doing a devotional out of a book, you would know what day you're on unless you're journaling it and tallying it.
Right.
And creating this yourself. But the app creates it for you because they want you on their app. And be like, oh, you made a streak. And then they
don't call it that. They don't be like, oh, you've been on the streak. But they have a little lightning bolt.
Yeah, they send you.
And it's like not just this app, but several, where it tells you like, oh, you've done this, this, and that.
So then they send you they probably send you an alert like, hey,
they'll show it on your phone and be like, hey,
you haven't done it yet today.
But every app does that.
Send you an email. Like, hey,
sends you an email.
Like, hey, by the way, you haven't been on here today.
Right. Or you get, on your phone, you get that little red thing with the 3 or what. Oh, yeah, look, hey, let's check this out. That's how deep it goes.
Yeah. So if I say this, from the difference of dopamine loop, which we know that's what gets you there, compared to what do we take it to now?
Yeah.
When you said like, oh, look at the little programming.
Yeah.
So they use what they use to get you, but then where's the programming interlaced with it?
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think about it this way. Dopamine has been around. Like, it's not like something new. We just named the name of it, really. So way back, you could go back to like caveman, whatever you want to call it. Dopamine was still there, but it was used in a different way for like survival. Technology age has come in this tiny little blip on timeline, and it has overly like just allowed things to have easier access to information. Like, we could pull anything up now on the World Wide Web.
That sounds dangerous.
And it's like it's like you've opened up Pandora's box because you have all this information.
That's not good.
You've all this information that you can look at, find, research, and even that.
Look at you.
Even that. Like, even if it's a good thing, you can have a dopamine loop on it. Like, you could just be consumed with it.
Do you get into that?
Yes, yeah. Like, even with the info sponging.
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee you, if you look at something on your phone, computer, whatever, and they see that you've been looking at this for a long time.
You said they see.
Well,
who is they?
World Wide Web. Or whoever the search engine is, whatever it is.
Who is that?
You
Whoever
can't
wants
tell
you to
me.
spend your money with them.
You can't tell me that they're not trying to put other things in there to help you with more information. But
You say help you.
Well, to get more information or to get you to stay.
Yeah. Dumb down.
Dumb.
That's my version.
That's your version.
Yeah.
But to keep you in that loop.
See you occupied.
Occupy you, yeah.
And then if you do the, oh, look at this red circle. Oh, I got to check this. Oh, I got to check that. Oh, I got to check this. It's like, you're in the program, man.
You've hit the loop, man. You've hit the loop.
And the loop, when you say loop, like, you've been to the airport?
Yeah.
And you had to, like, driving somebody off or picking somebody up?
Oh, no.
But,
yeah.
I mean, it's fine. But, like,
Well, yeah,
like either it's a loop, right?
It's a loop. It's a loop.
Like, if you don't pick the person up, or if you're not there to get what you got to get,
the loop.
how do you get off the loop, man?
Yeah.
You don't even know how to get out of the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying that version.
But getting to that point,
you said loop.
we could go to your phone, like let's say, have you ever, like, you know how you got certain things set up on your phone, like the apps or whatever, where they're at on your phone, and then you say you had somebody else's phone, like Erica's phone, or like I took Candace's phone or whatever, and you're trying to figure out where certain things are
On the phone?
on the phone.
Like, organized.
Yeah.
The apps that organize on your phone. Like, where that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard this, I think.
You're more aware of how your phone is than theirs. Mm-hmm. So when you try to do the same things on somebody else's phone, or we could do it even this way, you reset your phone, but you still have all the apps. But here's the problem: they have been disorganized.
Look at you. That's a problem. Here's the problem. I've heard this.
The apps are in different areas of the phone.
You got to figure it out.
And guess what? You don't want to figure it out. Because it's not easy enough.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't make it easy. Now, eventually you'll figure it out.
You could tell a person by the apps on their home screen.
Mm-hmm. The ones they do the most? Yeah.
No, just like, which ones do you got on the home screen?
Yeah. I got like 5. I got like a bunch of pages. Half stuff I don't use.
I mean, you said a lot of very interesting words. So I don't know what, like, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny with you. Like, I don't know what the main message is that you want to convey. Maybe it's for me to convey. But when you said World Wide Web, we've hiked on the trail.
Yeah.
You go first, because I'm smart enough to let you get entangled in the web.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the way you put that one.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you got entangled.
Because that's true, man.
So the thought part, like, me and Erica actually did, we volunteered at Kids Camp. And one of the rules was like, no phone.
No phones. How long was the camp? Over like a weekend?
Like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, like week.
Okay.
But I mean, we weren't there all those days, but that was the camp and that was the rules. And no phone.
No phone.
Because they wanted you to be engaged
right.
with the children.
Yeah.
And what you're saying that the people are missing out on their fix, they knew that if they allowed the phones, the counselors, the people that's supposed to be mentoring the youth, would be somewhere on their phone.
Yeah.
So they said,
no phone.
No phone. Now, for me, thank God. No, really. And I believe my wife, too. Like, that wasn't an issue.
Right.
Like, for me. But where I'm at in my journey, like, to say, hey, oh, I missed out on whatever. Like, what's taking place on your phone that is an emergency?
Yeah.
That you can't do without. Or, like, for you might be like, man, if I go do the camp, I'm not going to be able to do my devotional and keep my streak. Look at how your face is looking like that. I mean, that almost makes you feel like I can see. Hopefully, the listeners can see. Like, man,
like
that's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
For
like
you.
You think about it,
and then it's like, okay, so how about is there an opportunity for us to say, hey, do you have this real streak with the Lord?
Right.
And your relationship with him.
Yeah, because what hit
what did
me...
people do 1,000 years ago?
Yeah. Because they didn't even... They had scrolls, man. Certain people would read those things.
What people do 1,000
You
years
had to
ago?
go to listen to that. You didn't have a book back then.
What people do 1,000 years ago, man? Dopamine loop.
That's so interesting. What was dopamine back then? What was the dopamine back then?
Probably you go and plant a garden and you anticipate the harvest.
Yeah.
You go fish and you anticipate the catch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you think
I
so?
would think
I mean,
so.
according
Like,
to
those
what
things would be the
you
ones.
said. But if you say, like, so if I went on a cruise, and I'm not acting like, oh, I don't be on my phone, because my wife was here, she'd be like, man, you be on your phone. Right.
True.
But we even take it a step further, and there's built-in excuses. Like, oh, the only reason I got my phone is I want to take pictures. I don't want, like, it's my camera. I don't want to.
True. Yeah. That's a excuse.
I'm on the cruise, and next thing you know, like, a school of dolphins.
I got to get a snap of that. I got to get a picture.
I gotta get a picture of that.
I may not be able to put it on social media right now, but I'm going to do it eventually.
See, I might
So
not be
why
able to
did you
do
really
it
take
right
the
now.
picture? What did you really take the picture for?
Depends. Who
You know?
who you speaking to?
Right.
We heard why you're taking it
Right.
because you wanted to be on your highlight reel.
Right.
Like, man, look at me.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put this on. Get the real.
But then if you looked at my social media, and probably because it's like, Lee, your social media needs help. Like, you're really not. I can tell you're not on there. But if you looked at my social media compared to my photos,
I can tell you
you would be like,
From
oh,
my- yeah,
man,
from my
you're not even
perspective,
putting this stuff on. You
what
need this
you've
stuff on
showed
there.
me. What you've showed me that's
Right.
not on social media.
You'd be like, man, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You would have whatever you would have 600 more of those red circles, man. If you would just put that on there.
Right.
But if I were to answer, I put it on there, not on my phone. I take the picture on my phone because I want to look back and be like, oh man, you remember the waterfall? Or you remember this trip? Or you remember this experience?
Right.
So it's for the memory aspect of it. But if you say, like, so, and I know we're not going deep down into the rabbit hole
Yeah.
because we could.
We could go very,
I
very.
mean, we
deep
could go
with it.
very deep.
Yeah.
You can get on this loop and never get off.
Never.
But what if you were to say, hey, that you're uploading all this stuff and they're just computing it and storing it
Yeah.
and filing it away, collecting information.
That's what. Yeah. You might want to watch that documentary. It's interesting.
Like, I haven't even watched
the World
documentary.
World
You
Wide
heard me?
Web. I mean, think about it. You upload information to somewhere.
Yeah, somebody.
Somebody's got to hold it. Somebody's got to put it somewhere.
I've seen the movie.
It's yeah.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah.
The artificial intelligence movie. I've seen it.
It's
There's been
somewhere.
more than one.
I mean, and there's so much they can get out of a photo or anything, really.
Yeah. And all, like, the dopamine fixes that you get,
Mm-hmm.
you think they're collecting data, they're like, oh, well, how do we make the app better?
Yeah,
Okay. They're seeing your triggers, man.
that's what it is. Like
And they're seeing how you respond. You might want to rethink this thing. And, like, maybe the main takeaway might be like, hey, if this is speaking to me, whether it be on social media, whether it be on the Bible app,
whatever
whether
it
be
is, whatever it is,
games that they
video
have on here,
games, all that kind of stuff.
whether it be your text, whether it be your emails, whatever your thing is, the dopamine loop might be, hey, let me get off the loop in the form that I'm on it.
Mm-hmm.
And say, okay, well, how do I feel good? Well, when you're like, oh, when you normally would like go and say, hey, I need to check my phone. I need to
Yeah.
do 10 push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Do some jumping jacks.
I mean, there could be simple ways of doing it. Like just, I know reading an article, when she would find that first thing is really, like you said, you have to recognize the loop. You have to understand what it is.
You have to recognize that you're on
Like
the
you
loop.
got to recognize, okay, I'm on a loop. Like if you've been scrolling for 30 minutes and you're like, oh man, I didn't know it was 30 minutes. You're in the loop. Okay, so how do you get off the loop? Oh, it's funny because the way when she said it, some
On the
people like they'd
documentary?
be on the couch. Yeah, no, this was like it was an article I read in Psychology Today, and she would say some people who want to like break the loop, break it, because I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a continual thing. Like this is a chemical reaction with your body, subconsciously, and a lot of times, that you don't know happens, and then when you do, you gotta break the loop.
Break the loop.
And some people, like if they're sitting on the couch, whatever, and they realize that, they take the phone and they just throw it to the other side of the couch. Like they just throw it. Like what she would do is, if she realized what was going on, she would turn the phone off. Like this is like a split reaction, like 2 seconds. It's quick. You got to understand. Dopamine loops happen quickly. Like it's not like this long drawn out thing.
I can't wait to ask you this.
Like when you see a key thing would be like an auto tone. When you hear an auto tone on your phone,
You want to get it off.
boom,
Get it
dopamine loop. Something is on my phone that needs my attention.
Oh, I don't even have mine on.
I put mine on silent like half the time.
No, you've never heard my phone ring.
I've never heard your phone ring. Never. I've never seen
You never heard it beep?
I've never heard it vibrate.
Nothing.
But that's a trigger.
Man, I promise you, I'm in a different world, man. I promise. Okay.
But yeah, but they're quick. So in order to break the loop, you have to find things that are quick. So when she recognizes it, she locks the phone, puts it face down, and then gets her hands off it and goes away.
Yeah.
Like you've just got to detach quickly. And then sometimes when you get to that point where you're doing that, then it gets to a point, okay, how can I make it more cumbersome to me to get to this stuff? Like you were doing. Nothing is on that phone. Like you can't hear it vibrate. You don't even have to know if it's on, probably.
Yes.
Or you could move the apps around. Delete the apps. Yeah. Make it to where you have to put the app back on your phone to get to see things. Like those certain things, like just breaking the habit of that.
So what are you doing personally for
me?
Do you stay on the loop or have you been able
I'm not, I think mine would be, like if I want to do a game, there's certain games that are like, I'll play and I'll do it for like 15 minutes, but I'm not like completely consumed with it.
Yeah.
But then there's times where if it's like social media wise, I can tell, like there's a certain time where I'm like, man, this is like way too much. And typically it's not even 30 minutes. It's like, okay, I gotta get off the phone.
Yeah.
But it's like doing things outside of electronics, reading the Bible, like the hard copy.
You're not going for the street, right?
Or like being involved in church activities. Like we're doing this theology class, which it's an involved class. There's a lot of reading to it. Just doing that.
Yeah.
Going outside.
Cutting
Cutting the grass.
Did you hear that? Like you said that like to somebody that's foreign.
Yeah. It is. I know it's kind of hot right now in Georgia.
Outside. Like it's
just
foreign.
going outside. Like waking up early before the sun comes up and just going outside and watching the sunrise. Without your phone. Don't bring any electronics.
You don't need it.
A cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And just sit out there. Like just minute things that
I'm
allow
actually
you to
glad.
silence stuff.
I'm actually glad we're talking about this, man.
You know?
Because I think it like right now we're talking like, oh well, the phones and the alerts and the detach from it don't, and we say like unplug.
Yeah.
And people just hear what I'm saying. Don't think for not 1 second that there's not a principality that wants this phone to be a part of you.
Yeah.
So if you can't even have the strength and the focus and the discipline and to know what this truly is, when it's not a part of you, how do you win that?
Yeah.
Like, it's fun and games when you think, oh, it's just games or it's just an app or it's just a streak. But when we start talking about like, oh, you can't buy. You can't sell. And they already know all your triggers. And they know you're fiending for your next fix. Yeah. And it's going to be the anticipation of like, does my family eat today?
Mm-hmm.
You better break the loop and figure out how you win and have victory over this now.
Yeah.
That's my perspective.
I agree, man. Because some of this stuff can get way weeded down, and it's like from a lifestyle standpoint, from a living standpoint, like what you want for your future. If you're so bogged down in the loop all the time, like you can't see that far out.
Yeah, you can't see.
You know?
And it's programmed to keep you.
Just keep you there.
Like it's to keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the phone, like these are smartphones, right? Dumbing us down.
Smartphones.
But it'll track and tell you like, oh, how much screen time you had. Oh
yeah, a lot more too.
They're like, oh well, they're literally telling like, oh man, you didn't make your streak.
They tell you that.
Like you didn't have.
No. It gets even crazier.
You didn't have the time you had last week.
There's somewhere if you don't get the streak, you can keep it going if you pay 50 cents, and we can keep the streak going.
You can keep the streak going.
I was like, I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then it's like gambling. Except it's free.
Well, no, it's not free.
Well,
look.
It's free for the initial part.
In my version, you might be gambling with your soul.
Yeah. I get where you're coming with that.
Which is not free.
That's not free. That is not free.
My version of this, he might be like, Lee, why do you do that, man? It's just, me sitting on social media is gambling with my soul. Only you know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Only you know what you're using it for. Only you know how much time you're wasting.
Yeah.
Like, how about I challenge somebody to say, hey, you want to get a dopamine fix? Do something in your purpose. Anticipate the Lord saying you're a good and faithful servant because you walking in your purpose. Get on that loop.
I like that loop. It's a good loop.
But because I don't want to come off like, so it's like, oh, well, if you think, like, you're like, man, I saw all the pictures you have. So most of my stuff is business, like, it's tied to like, oh, the company, the brand, some of that. But I have highlight reels that people's never seen. Like, oh man, you ain't seen, like,
yeah.
I didn't take that picture for you.
I like that.
But that wasn't for you. That was for me. At most, my family.
Yeah.
But I've even heard one of my mentors say, like, man, have you ever just been like, I think he was talking about, he went to Paris and was at the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And he was like, he had like a moment where he was like, everybody was like, taking a picture is not being present in the moment.
Yeah.
and taking it in.
I've been in places like that where it's like,
So you're literally like, instead
Yeah.
of seeing whatever you're looking at, you're seeing it through the phone. You're
yeah,
seeing it through the lens of the
through
camera.
the
It's
lens of the
like,
camera instead of like your own eyes.
like you, what? And then like, especially if you put the layers of what we've been talking about, because you can't wait to post it. And it's like, if a person, wherever you're at, like say, some of the springs, some of the oceans, some of the beaches, some whatever, mountains, canyons, Sedona, I mean, you name it, whatever. I'm gonna post a picture to that. And you might be like, Lee, you're really wild. I mean, you might be. But you'd be like, oh man, people are showing pictures to some people? To some.
To some people.
It's like, oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
So now they have no drive. They have no sense of like, hey, I've got to go do something to see it for myself. They're content with like, oh, I've seen it. I've seen the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
You saw Braxton's photo of it.
You saw a photo of it. You didn't
You
fully
didn't see
it. Yeah. It probably get to the point where you put 3D glasses on, do a VR, virtual reality of it.
Please don't get me. Please don't get me. Please don't get me the rest of the way fired up, man. I'm trying to not go down the rabbit hole.
I
man.
know.
Get
But
off
yeah,
the loop.
like
Like say for instance, when we talked about it, could you imagine? You can talk about one of your last experience, Carter K, whatever, the tubing.
Yeah.
If I show you Lee had his GoPro, took the video going down.
Yeah,
and then
you had the. I didn't have any of that.
You had the video.
had-
You saw the video.
I
but
saw
then
the video.
You said, "Oh yeah, I've seen the Carter K. I'm good."
Yeah, I could have done that. But it's
People
the
are doing that.
experience, man.
People are doing that, man.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, I've seen that. Man, that messes with me though. Like, I want to experience it, you know?
But yeah, people are not,
Like
man.
seeing it and seeing all that kind of stuff. Like even with me and Ken, it's like traveling. Like when we went up north and did like we watched a whole bunch of social media on YouTube on just navigating it, seeing the sights. But to truly be there and see it, there's no comparison to that. There's no comparison.
Yeah, it's no comparison, man.
But you gotta understand the loop.
I'm grateful, man, that where I am in my life, in my journey, and this is good for me. I'm not gonna act like it's not good for me to check in with my phone
Yeah, I gotta do that too.
and be like, yeah, this some stuff ain't making it.
Phone anything that's
Some
like
stuff ain't gonna make it.
like a consistent thing that I constantly do. It's like, is this a dopamine loop thing or is it, you know? Not to saying the dopamine loop isn't bad. It's just what is it and how is it perceived in your life. But yeah, man,
Get off the loop, man.
get off it.
Unplug.
I like that one. That's a good one.
It's scary. You got to.
You
man.
got to. You got to have that. But yeah, interesting. I hope people look it up more. Try to understand.
And we're speaking it. And this is probably the last thing because it seems like this has been going on.
Well, we almost at 40, man.
This is going forever. No, just playing. But
We in the loop.
get off the loop. Unplug. Get off the loop. Unplug.
Yeah, one thing I do want to say, and it does deal, like, I talked about the Bible app. There was something I had watched, and it kind of like, it struck me, because it was like, that's so true. Like, even when we're in God's Word, and we read it, and we study it, and we try to understand it, there's points where it's like, you have to understand what you're doing it for. And whenever you get to a point where it's like you read something and you just didn't get anything out of it, that's a loop. Because it's not always going to be great. It's not always going to be the greatest thing. but it's the consistency and understanding like it's a bigger purpose than just having the satisfying something.
Yeah.
It really is.
This might be a two-parter, man, because what I was going to say was like the generation that me and you are.
Yeah.
And where we stand with the phone. And this conversation started with your kids on a cruise.
That generation is different.
The thought process that kids are being born now or coming up now. And like, I didn't start out life with a phone in my hand.
Really? It's scary. So, it's scary when you look at it.
So you think like, oh, we're talking to this. Fine. What would you tell the 5-year-old that their parents give them the tablet as the babysitter, as the occupier, as the, hey, your brain's no longer developing, the prefrontal cortex is not getting developed because you have too much screen time. And that's all they know is that. And then now we're going on a cruise and it's like, you didn't just see the whale jump out of the... You missed the whale.
Yeah, the whale.
Because you're on your phone. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's different, man.
We're in a different world. So
that
when
was
we're talking
my
about
next
people
step,
unplugging.
Man. Yeah, that was my next step, like generational wise. Like
parents,
how this
like, hey,
stuff
help
goes.
your kids get off the loop, man.
Yeah.
And really, if you're the one that put them on there,
you gotta figure it out.
Yeah, man.
Gotta figure it out.
Unplug. Look.
I like it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Till next time.
This is your co-host here, Braxton Matson, and Lee and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we did making it, but we couldn't do it without you. So please hit that like button, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what topic or subject that you would like us to talk about in your journey from mediocre to magnificent. But most of all, share it. Be the ripple effect of magnificence and know that you are magnificent in everything you do. Till next time.